I had worked the night shift at that gas station for almost 3 months. Nothing unusual ever happened until one Thursday at 2:17 a.m. when a man walked in and somehow knew my name. The gas station sat just off a quiet highway in rural Ohio. After midnight, the place felt completely cut off from the world. No traffic, no customers, just the hum of the refrigerators and buzzing lights. That night, I was alone behind the counter, scrolling on my phone, trying to stay awake. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the bell above the door rang. A tall man walked in slowly. He didn't look at the snacks, didn't go to the drinks. He just stood near the entrance, studying at me. I gave the usual tired nod. Need help finding anything? He didn't answer. Instead, he walked straight to the counter. Up close, something felt off. His clothes were dusty, like he'd been walking outside for hours, and his eyes looked unfocused. Then he spoke quietly. "Long night, isn't it, Daniel?" My stomach dropped. My name tag wasn't visible. I hadn't told him my name. I forced a nervous laugh. "Yeah. Do I know you?" He shook his head slowly. "No, but I know this place." Silence filled the store. Finally, he grabbed a bottle of water and placed it on the counter. While I scanned it, I noticed something strange. His hands were shaking badly. Not like nervous shaking, more like exhaustion. I told him the total. He didn't move. Instead, he leaned slightly closer and whispered, "You shouldn't be here tonight." A chill ran through me. Before I could respond, he suddenly paid in cash, grabbed the bottle, and walked out. I watched him leave through the glass doors, but instead of heading to a car, he just walked into the darkness beside the building. No vehicle, no sound, nothing. That alone creeped me out, but I tried to forget it. About 20 minutes later, the phone behind the counter rang. It was the store's landline. I answered. "Hello, Static." Then a voice. "Quiet. He's still outside." My grip tightened. "Who is this?" the voice repeated. "He's still outside. Don't look." My heart started pounding. Slowly, without thinking, I looked toward the front windows. At first, I saw nothing. Then, movement standing just beyond the light. Near the side of the building was the same man, completely still, facing the store. Watching, I froze. When I looked back at the phone, the line had gone dead. My hands were shaking now. I locked the front door remotely from behind the counter. For the next few minutes, he didn't move, didn't take Homa closer, just stood there, tense suddenly. He stepped forward into the light and smiled. Not a normal smile, a wide, empty, unsettling smile. He slowly raised one hand and tapped on the glass. 3 soft knocks. I couldn't move. Then he mouthed something. "I'm almost sure," he said. "I told you." And then the store lights flickered, just once. When they came back on, he was gone. Completely gone. No footsteps, no car, nothing. I called my manager immediately. He told me to check the security cameras, so I rewound the footage to when the man first entered. What I saw made my stomach twist. The door never opened. The bell never rang on. The camera, I was standing alone the entire time, talking to nobody, scanning nothing, handing change to empty air. I quit that job the next morning, and I've never worked another night shift since. I thought quitting that gas station would end everything, but 3 nights later, at exactly 2:17 a.m., my phone rang, and the caller ID showed the gas station's number. I was at home when the call came in. I remember staring at my phone, confused. I hadn't worked there since the incident, and no one from the store ever called employees that late. Still, I answered. "Hello?" For a moment, there was only static. Then I heard it. The same quiet voice from that night. He came back. My chest tightened instantly. "Who is this?" The whisper continued. He's asking for you." The call cut off. I sat there, frozen, staring at the screen. A minute later, my manager texted me. "Did you come into the store tonight?" I replied, "No." "Why?" His response came almost immediately. "Because someone here says they know you?" My stomach dropped. He sent another message. "Night shift worker says a man walked in asking for Daniel. Said you told him to come tonight." I felt the same cold fear from before. I called my manager. He sounded nervous. He told me the new employee, Chris, was working alone. Around 2:10 a.m., a tall man had walked in. Dusty clothes, quiet voice, didn't browse. Just stood near the entrance, staring. Then he walked to the counter and asked, "Where's Daniel?" Chris told him I didn't work there anymore. The man apparently smiled and said, "He does tonight." I told my manager to check the cameras again. There was a long pause on the phone. Then he said something that made my hands go numb. "Daniel, the cameras show Chris talking to someone." My throat went dry, but the door never opened. I couldn't speak. He continued quietly. "It's the same as what you described." Silence filled the call. 10, soothingly. In the background of his phone, I heard the faint sound of the store's bell ringing. My manager whispered, "Hold on." I heard him calling Chris's name. No answer. Then footsteps. Then his voice again, shaky now. "Chris isn't at the counter." A loud metallic bang echoed through the phone. Like something hitting a shelf, my manager started breathing faster. "There's someone standing by the refrigerators." I gripped the phone tighter. "What do you mean, someone?" he whispered. Tall, dusty clothes. My heart slammed against my ribs. Then, very faintly, through the phone, I heard 3 soft taps. Tap, tap, tap. Glass. Exactly like before. My manager's voice dropped to almost nothing. He's smiling. The line suddenly went dead. I tried calling back. No answer. Again. No answer. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I drove past the gas station on my way to work. Police cars were parked outside. The store was closed. Later that afternoon, my manager finally called me. Chris had been found in the storage room, shaken, pale, refusing to talk much. All he would say was, "The man said Daniel forgot something." When my manager asked what that meant, Chris replied, he said he'd come back again when Daniel works the night shift. I never told him this, but sometimes, at exactly to 17 a.m., my phone lights up for a second. No ringtone, no notification, just the screen glowing, showing an incoming call from a number labeled gas station. And when the light fades, there's never any call history. I thought the calls would eventually stop. But a week later, at exactly 2:17 a.m., I heard 3 soft knocks coming from my own front door. That night, I had forced myself to stay up late. I didn't want to fall asleep and wake to another strange call. The apartment was silent, except for my TV playing quietly in the background. When the clock on my phone changed to 2:17 a.m., my TV suddenly lost signal. The screen went black. At the same moment, tap, tap, tap. 3 quiet knocks echoed from my front door. My entire body went still. Nobody visits at that hour. I slowly stood up, barely breathing. Another 3 knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I walked toward the door, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe a neighbor, maybe someone at the wrong apartment. But deep down, I already knew. I looked through the peephole. At first, all I saw was darkness. Then something moved slightly forward into the hallway light. A tall figure, dusty clothes, standing completely still, smiling. It was him. My legs nearly gave out beneath me. He didn't knock again. He just stood there, staring directly at the door, like he knew I was looking. Then slowly, he raised one hand and pointed downward. Confused, I glanced at the floor inside my apartment. There was something sitting right against my door. A small plastic gas station bag. I hadn't heard it being placed there. My heart pounded as I bent down and slowly picked it up. Inside was a single bottle of water, the same brand he bought that night. And beneath it, a folded receipt. My hands shook as I opened it. Printed at the top, 217 Ampump, Nonakashir. I nearly felt cold all over. I hadn't worked there in a week. Suddenly, the hallway outside creaked. I rushed back to the peephole. He was gone. The hallway was empty. No footsteps. No elevator sound. Nothing. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I drove straight to the gas station. The place looked normal again. Opened. Customers coming and going. I went inside and asked my manager to pull the receipt records for 2:17 a.m. He humored me and checked. After a few seconds, his face changed. "There is a transaction," he said quietly. "Bottle of water. Paid in cash." He turned the screen toward me. Under cashier name, it said, Dayanai El Mai. Manager frowned. "That's impossible. You're not even in the system anymore." I didn't respond, because at that exact moment, I heard the soft jingle of the entrance bell behind me. I didn't want to look, but I did. A tall man had just stepped inside. Dusty clothes, unfocused eyes, faint smile. He stood near the entrance, just like the first night. Slowly, he raised his hand and gave a small wave. Then he spoke quietly, the same words as before. "Long night, isn't it, Daniel?" Nobody else in the store reacted. Customers kept browsing. Music kept playing, like nothing was wrong. I turned back toward my manager in panic, but he was staring at me strangely. "Daniel," he said, confused. "Who are you looking at?" My throat went dry. I turned back toward the entrance. The man was gone. The door hadn't opened. The bell hadn't rung. Nothing. That was the last time I ever stepped into that gas station. I moved to another town 2 months later. Changed jobs. Changed apartment. Changed everything. But sometimes, at exactly 2:17 a.m., I still wake up suddenly. And from somewhere outside, very faintly, I hear 3 soft knocks. Tap, 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 and a quiet voice, almost like it, S, right outside my door. Long night, isn't it, Daniel?